organized mainly by the programs team, which during every general assembly becomes extended. Some of the program coordinators are not able to travel, have other commitments, so then the program representative spots are being redistributed. And then general members of IFMSA or members of other international teams are being given a chance to join the program's family and to experience the GA from this very unique perspective. So, without further ado, I am aware that all of you want to see the presentations, but first, let's have a very short presentation of the extended programs being with our lovely Jewish representatives.
Oh, yeah, you're.
And we will start with the Safari for Europe, Nils Panos from Catalonia. Next up is Jose Luis Delgado Chavez from Portugal.
Because we are.
Next up, we have the program coordinator for ethics and human rights and health, Elena Abdullah from IFMSA Egypt. Next up, we have our program coordinator for medical education systems and then our president for IFMSA, Kurdistan, Ahmed Ali. All right, next up, we have our program coordinator for maternal health and access to safe abortion, Hassan Ibrahim from IFMSA Egypt. Next up, we have the person who creates all those forms, all those lengthy forms that you are then sent and makes to fill out before and after each IFMSA meeting, General Assembly or regional meeting. And that's Manuel Guerrero from IFMSA Peru. Next up, we have our the program that's not be represented this General Assembly is the program for medical education systems because apart from the PC, the Euro PC, we are also joined by a program representative who was given a spot, and that's another member of IFMSA Egypt. Basa Al Abdi. I think that is not joining us at this point. Next, another program representative, surprisingly also from this, is our lovely Noran Wallis. Please, next up, the person that you could have seen and worked with in this program sessions is our program representative, Carlos Salah from IFMSA India. Before we go to the host of the gala, I cannot really forget mentioning my lovely sister, the person who's gonna take the baton as VPA in just over a bit less than 2 months. I'm gonna have a very proud to see this. Looking at the wall, I think I haven't forgotten anyone, so my list is complete. So now, let me introduce the host of the gala that we're going to bring you to the tour all around the world, all across IFMSA regions. And these are the South Korean from Asia Pacific, Rachel Chen from ASA Hong Kong. And she is going to be accompanied by Nika Lisa from IFMSA Korea, the program coordinator for environmental health. All right, I guess I leave you in very safe hands. So do enjoy, take a look at pictures, meet the program coordinator, clap hands, and yeah, have fun. Right. And before we go on with our presentation, let me also introduce our lovely jury that volunteers to score the activities tonight. Then the results will be calculated by the program team and announced at the closing ceremony. So firstly, we have our Vice President for IFMSA President-elect 24-25, Angela Moreno from Ecuador. Secondly, we have a face that you see in every corner of every single student that's serving us in the assembly. I love you, lady, I can take you that. Next up, the person that's going to establish whether the activities actually are valid and can be tables. Paulina Hassenberger, a member of the Next up, the liaison officer for human rights and peace issues, Analaya Dago from Casemiro Remain. Last but not least, our lovely regional director for Africa, Eric Diangira from Metro Rwanda. And now it's time for the RSD Gala.
Dear delegates,
activity coordinators,
annual representatives,
and all members who survived the plenary and are still willing to be here. Welcome to the August meeting 2024 Rex Crossley Awards Gala. Since 2015, each consecutive year led to the growth of activity management awareness worldwide.
enrolling and reporting allowed us to learn about the work of activity coordinators across all regions of the IFMSA.
This year, we received over 50 applications, and each valid participant was enrolled in one of the 13 IFMSA programs.
And the selection was carefully done by our dedicated program coordinators. So let's have another round of applause for our program coordinators. And from these amazing submissions, we have selected our 7 finalists. So let's hear it for all the finalists and all the hard work that they have put in.
The Rex Crossley Award is an award provided by IFMSA to recognize the incredible work and achievements of the best activities in IFMSA national member organizations.
And these awarded activities have a meaningful impact on local, national, and even international levels.
Next, let's make a moment to honor the man behind the name, Rex Crossley.
So Rex Crossley was born in 1930 and passed away in 1962. And he attended the Bristol University both as a medical student and also an athlete, graduating with honors in 1953.
He served as the president of the British Medical Students Association for 2 terms, and he was chosen to be the very first president of IFMSA in 1951.
And to honor his legacy, during every single IFMSA General Assembly, we select a few exceptional activities to showcase themselves to the global audience in his name. And as the first presentation of the night, we bring to you an initiative that is dedicated to fighting breast cancer every single day of the year.
This project targets the major public health concern of breast cancer, focusing on communities that lack awareness and resources.
Celebrity Moroccan culture. They train from now Susan to recognize early signs of breast cancer, refer women to doctors, and also encourage self-examination.
They truly embrace the idea of think globally, act locally, combining national and local activities to make a real impact.
Their comprehensive approach includes screening campaigns, workshops, and collaborations with local health professionals to ensure ongoing support and education.
By empowering masseuses and community members, they fostering the culture of early detection and protective healthcare.
So now, let's meet the passionate team behind this year-long initiative.
Please welcome 365 Days of Faith by IFMSA Morocco.
How do you go there? Okay.
Imagine a service, a place that is familiar to every Moroccan woman ever. Being an environment that could save thousands of lives. Through a simple message, a simple trick, through a team of motivated medical students aspiring for a change. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, I am proud to presenting to you an activity. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, I am proudly presenting to you today a groundbreaking initiative that tackled the problem of breast cancer. 365 days of care, led by IFMSA Morocco's SCORA, enrolled under the Healthy Lifestyles and Non-Communicable Diseases Program. This activity aims to empower and educate women on breast cancer awareness. Our target group for this activity were women over the age of 45 and over, because they are the population at risk. The statistics on this issue are alarming. More than 10,000 new cases of breast cancer are recorded every year in Morocco, with breast cancer being the most common of cancer, with it taking 38% of all cancers and 28% of cancer deaths among women. But our activity wasn't just about the women. It was also about us, you and me, medical students, to have several hours of classical training regarding the same topic. The most important aspect of our activity, the most innovative aspect of our activity is that it's collaborated with hammams. For some context, a Moroccan hammam is a public traditional bathhouse that is embedded in Moroccan community. It is a place where people, especially women, gather around not just to cleanse, but to relax, to talk, and to share their thoughts. This code, the atmosphere, creates a one-of-a-kind relationship between the student and the women. The students are not just service providers, but they are friends, they're confidants, and they're active members of our society. And by training these students, we can ensure a long-lasting and sustainable impact on our awareness. Our objectives for this activity were simple. Firstly, train medical students on all aspects regarding breast cancer, such as early detection, symptoms, but also self-examination methods, because they will be serving as the main pillar of this activity. Secondly, recruiting hammams in all systems, such as Rabat, Fas, Ujda, Casablanca, Marrakesh, and Agadir and Tangier to host the campaign, serving as our hub for this activity. Our third objective, it was more focused on the misuses, training them, making them ambassadors of our healthcare through several sessions on the same topics. And last but not least, we are currently working on a partnership with the Ministry of Health to set a toll-free number to further support and take care of those people who are in need. As for our evaluation plan, we are planning to establish, as for our evaluation, we are planning to gather feedback from participants, from the medical students, from women, from everyone, to ensure the effectiveness of our trainings and campaigns. But also, we would like to conduct surveys and interviews to understand the research impacts and identify areas where we can improve. We also have key metrics, such as the number of self-examinations we've had throughout the activity, but also the increase of early detection reported. To conclude, 365 days of pain is not just an activity. It's a testament to the power of culture and of members and of society's engagement in awareness in healthcare by using local initiatives and the trust in our community. We can create durable, sustainable, and impactful activities. So join me, medical students, members all over the world, in this journey to achieve a world free from breast cancer. And if they don't have time to medical cancer.
Thank you so much for your first and congratulations on the activity. Congratulations for the impact. I have a question on the sustainability of the activity. How are you planning to keep the activity going, or what are the steps that we're going to take to keep the activity succeed?
Yes. So we're having this activity as part of the handover from one activity coordinator to another. But also we are planning on even broadening more the impact, recruiting more hammams, recruiting more cities, so that we can keep the activity alive. And using the masseuses in the hammam is what keeps it sustainable. Because those people, we have a very close connection with our personal masseuses. We see them mostly 2 to 3 times a week. So that is what is going to ensure the sustainability, durability of our activity.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was wondering if you have established a protocol for us being looking for consent before performing vaccination, or if it is just regularly included in this examination.
Yes. So the masseuses are not actually performing the breast examinations. They are just performing the massages, normal massages, but now they are aware that they can see the symptoms of a potential breast cancer. So then they can just bring up the subjects with the women and potentially advise them to go check it out, and also show them how to do self-examination. We do not ask of the masseuses to conduct the self-examination.
So you only use visual cues as early detection for breast cancer?
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was wondering, how did you train the masseuses?
So we made the tailor-made sessions for them because I don't know if you know, but the masseuses are most likely to not have gotten an education before. So we made sessions that were tailored for them in our own dialect, making it easy for them and not incorporating medical terms or specific terms, which is general terms that everyone could understand. And it was more of a typical session than it just being like a presentation or something. We actually showed them how to do it, and we were it was several hours of work until they eventually got how to show the women how to do the self-examination.
Thank you so much for presenting that activity. I have a question in regards to external partners. I would like to ask you, how did you think to collaborate with the hammams? And also, are you collaborating with other external partners? Like, who is conducting the trainings for the masseuses? Thank you so much.
The trainings for the masseuses are either conducted by our TSRHRT trainees from Morocco, but also from an association called the AMPF, which is a part of the IPPF here in Morocco. It's called AMPF. So we took specialists from there, and with a joint team with our trainers, we conducted the sessions. And how did we think of the hammams? We wanted to think of something that's sustainable, that's closer to culture, because I don't think that us as medical students, we have the power to reach everyone. But the masseuses can, because the hammam culture in our country is very global. You can be the richest person in Morocco or the poorest person in Morocco, you're still gonna go to a hammam. And as for other partners, we're currently looking to partner up with the Ministry of Health for further support, and it's gonna make it very easy for us to continue and even more develop our activity.
Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask you,
Of course, we have received a lot of challenges, especially regarding training the masseuses, because we needed to be available in their time period where they're not working, because masseuses work approximately 10 to 12 hours a day. So we had the first problem, like actually finding a way to gather them around and actually explain the sessions to them. We also had problems regarding how to actually teach them. Like, it was very hard to figure out an effective way to teach them how to do self-examination without it being too complicated. But we throughout lots of effort and lots of conversation with all the teams, we finally have succeeded in overstepping those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next panelist shines a light on a critical issue in healthcare, corruption.
This is a project initiated by a dedicated group of students to address the pervasive issue of corruption in healthcare systems.
From a national policy document to a new Telegram channel to a highly successful 3-day workshop with top experts, they're making strides in promoting integrity and transparency.
Let's welcome the team behind this impactful initiative to hear more about their work.
Let's welcome On Health by SISM Italy.
It will be like this only because you're studying this.
Well, I'm Andrea Bambini from SISM Italy, and I'm here representing you Lights Now, a project about corruption and against corruption and organized crime in healthcare system. Well, this project has started, like the story of this project started with a small working group that started analyzing a problem and related to this problem. There are several corrupt practices that determines several problems, in particular their direct economic impacts, and they determine the problems that in the health field. In particular, they deny fundamental rights and the lack of several resources, especially billions of euros and dollars worldwide. So it's a global problem, actually. Especially, it denies the access to health to several part of the population, in particular the vulnerable one. And we have found out, studying several reports in 2 years of work, and also scientific paper, that there are different types of corruption. And also, we decided to assess through a study, a research, involving 1,500 students, that 10.8% of future health professionals consider acceptable several types of corruption. That's terrible, actually. That's why thinking also about the fact that corruption cannot also be in healthcare. It can be also institutional and political. And considering the fact that health is determined not just by the healthcare system, but also on the environment which we live in. Let's think about environment, health. We decided to take action. Our goals and our plan were to empower students through education, to make them aware, to let them understand the problem, and also to learn new skills so that they can be involved and they can advocate for fair healthcare systems in their country. And we started, of course, in Italy. We also want to reject every form of corruption and advocate. Advocate means establishing right and good partnerships, good allies, and advocate for the right to health. It's difficult to do it alone. So that's why we started slowly. We started in 2019, and here we are. We started with a Telegram channel. After that, we organized small educational activity online and in presence, also during COVID. We decided after that to go to another step. We have written a national policy document. It was a NEVO contract from our General Assembly. We have conducted researches that were published and they are open access. And also we organized a 3 days capacity building event, thanks to, well, 6 partners actually. And this event has involved 30 participants from different parts of Italy. And thanks to these 6 partners that are organizations from national and international organizations fighting daily corruption, promoting integrity and transparency, we had the opportunity to grant high-level education on healthcare system management, on public health issues, human rights issues, on ethics and deontology. And we did educational activities that were based on non-formal education and simulation that were really appreciated by the students. So we have built a community, actually. We were not alone. We were not just 5 or 6. We became more, and now we are working on organizing activities, especially now in autumn, in the local committees for involve more students as possible. And actually, our next goal is to involve other countries and other NMOs if you want to join us. There is a problem with corruption. Corruption is not black. It's not easy to recognize. It's gray. It's a gray cloud in the system. And at the root of corruption, there is one problem. This immoral thought that what is public is property and responsibility of no one. Even if your public system, if your health system is private, we all have, as future healthcare professionals, a responsibility. So, we are responsible because we will be health professionals. We are responsible because we should be citizens of our countries. And we should understand why corruption occurs. What are the consequences? We should also prevent it. So our motto is this one. It's a simple one. You can see that lamp. Let's start, please, a light on it, a little light. If we all start transforming ourselves in little lights in this system, we can start make and build an impact. And what we really love this project and give sustainability is the enthusiasm of doing it, of being involved in the project.
Starting time is up.
So thank you for listening, and if you want to join us, we will be really.
Congratulations for the activity. I have a question related to partnerships. You mentioned that you obtained 6 partnerships in the activity. So what are these partnerships? How did you obtain them, and what did you obtain from them?
The partners are Transparency International, which is a non-governmental organization, Libera, which is an organization that is fighting mafia and criminal organization, not only in Italy, but it has it's been founded in Italy, but actually it works also in projects internationally. Open Police, that is focused on monitoring public funds. And several projects like Illuminiamo la Salute and Scuola Common that are projects of Libera, but are different organizations, like satellite participation. Actually, our objective was to involve 2 partners. We were humble. We contact all of them, and they told us, we want to join you. And they did it for free, because they believed on us. Their contribution was mostly professional, because this problem is an interdisciplinary one. It needs competencies on law, sociology, anthropology, ethics, deontology. So of course we are medical students. We just put our effort in talking about global health and what we know very well to do in IFMSA, but a professional contributor is essential. And those partners are ready to build a network, not only nationally, but also internationally. For example, Transparency International is present in almost all of the countries. So actually, it could be amazing actually to collaborate all together, license officer and so on, for bringing this project to a next level. It would be amazing actually. Their contributor was free and so on. And also a nice contribution is from one of our local committees that gave the opportunity to organize a zero impact event ecologically with local food bought. We were cooking by ourselves. So I consider them, they're not officially partners, but this group of people were involved in the organizing committee.
Thank you so much for your presentation. As you mentioned, this is a very gray area topic. So could you provide us with some instance of corruption, especially in Italy, because it shows very differently in different countries?
Well, actually, there are several areas. There are 8, like for example, marketing, healthcare management, but there is also the part related not more about corruption, but also conflict of interest, so financials and so on. Also the management of healthcare workforces, but also the relationship between private and public system. Actually, in Italy, we have a problem with the infiltration of the private system, trying to make weaker our public system. We are in a crisis right now, and several countries in Europe are facing the same problems. So actually, it's just not talking about what is legally corruption. Like corruption is the gain of public responsibility and public power that I have as a doctor, and how I use it. If I use it for private gain, I'm not doing the right thing. So there is also an ethics and deontology implication, not only legal, because of course the legal framework of each country differs from each other. But there are 37 types. I can describe all of them, but these 8 areas are, corruption is everywhere. If you can see it in your country, you should be worried, because it means that it's really gray. But it's everywhere, unfortunately.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. It's very interesting. I was wondering, especially because the project appears to be such a long-term project, has there been any short-term impact that you have been able to see? Or are you still waiting and holding on, and hoping that it will happen soon.
Well, some impacts we have seen in some university, because when some cases happened, part of the community started mobilitating for it. So advocating, but we are in an embryonal state, let's say, like we are building the community that will start have an impact. I want to say, and I always say it to my team, that this process will be long. It takes patience. So for being change makers, we need patience. But also a lot of enthusiasm. It's really important. But we hope we'll see a better impact soon. Actually, right now we have involved, at least in the last year, 100 students. We have also organized an educational activity for incomings. For example, we have done it in Catania. I will do it next week in my local community again. So international students are also interested. I mean, this, it's a small seed that you plant somehow.
Okay, thank you so much. I have one first question. How do you monitor the success of the project?
Well, we have different strategies that depends also on how we plan it, because we use a lot of SWOT analysis, Gantt charts, which are really useful for monitoring our objectives. We use qualitative and quantitative methods. Our qualitative methods are more referred to, for example, not only impact assessment, also focus group, like we meet monthly or every 2 months for seeing what are the development of the projects, for example, in the local committees. So also we use quantitative method like Google form, like trying to find that. So right now, the most important thing for us is to set clear goals and to track them. Also, we have record sheets for budget analysis, also for analyzing which objective we are reaching, but also for taking a track of the activities we are organizing. Because if I'm talking to a stakeholder at university, I want also to express to them which is our impact, what we have done, what are our partners. So taking track of everything is really important. So we keep everything organized. We use all the principles of management.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, introducing a groundbreaking annual event that tackles the often taboo topic of sexual and reproductive health.
This comprehensive week-long event was designed to fill crucial gaps presented in the curriculum.
From roundtable discussions on obstetric violence to hands-on workshops on safe-sex practices and STI testing, this initiative provided students with practical knowledge and real-world applications.
Let's give a warm welcome to the team behind this impactful event.
Please welcome Health Week by Anna in Portugal.
I would like to invite you on a trip. I would like for you to imagine that you're back home, that you're in your medical school, in your hospital, in your clinical practice, and I want you to think, when was the last time that sexual and reproductive health and rights was mentioned and addressed in a meaningful way? If you're like me, you're having trouble remembering it. And trust me, it's not because of bad memory. My name is Paulo, I'm the animal president of ANEM Portugal, and I'm proud to present our very own Health Week, Semana da Saúde. Health Week is an activity organized by IFMSA, one of our LCs, and it's the LC from Porto. It's an activity that happens at the end of the year, and it addresses the gaps that exist in medical curriculum. But first of all, here's the topic that we'll address. We need to know why it exists. 4 years ago, we're in our fourth edition this year, IEQUERS thought we need an innovative activity. They thought about public health, sexual and reproductive health and rights, medical education, and they ended on sexual and reproductive health and rights. And why? Because they looked at Portugal, to the world, and they saw that the most pressing issue that was failing in medical curriculum and in health systems was SRHR. Therefore, this is our mission and goal, to fill the gap for medical students to be not only best doctors, but also advocates for sexual and reproductive health and rights. But it's not only that. We want them to feel included in the activity and to improve their health. That's why we also included STI screening and screening in general for example, cardiovascular health. This is the sessions that we've been having for the last 3 years. But as you can see, we have all the areas from SRHR, but IEQUERS thought maybe we need to do something different because the activities we've been having in Portugal, it's one weekend, and sometimes they don't have the engagement we want, let's be honest. So we decided to do throughout the week. And the activity is not only for medical students, but for all the college students all around the country. We have been receiving students from Porto, from Lisbon, from Coimbra, all over the country. And this is the last agenda that we have for the 2023. And you can see that we try to find areas that sometimes are not explored, for example, in Scora. For example, neuroscience behind sexuality is a topic that we try to introduce this year after consulting with participants of last year, debriefing with the OC, and trying to find new topics that would be interesting, not only for medical students, but since we like to include other students, interesting for them as well. Also, you can see in the bottom part that we like to have workshops. This way, students can feel included in the activity, but also get hands-on practice for their medical practice, but not only for medical practice, for their life in general. And the most fun part, in my opinion, is the social program. We found out that students like to have their social program, but we need to address it in a different way. We try to join the social part with the SRHR part. So you can see, for example, this year, we had a cinematic session on abortion, but this is what happened this year, but last year was, for example, they went to a museum with SRHR presentation. This was the evaluation of the last activity. You can see that most students found the topics very important and thought the activity was well organized. And in terms of impact, we had in the last edition 114 participants. It's one of the activities in Portugal with most engagement. The registration finished very quickly, and they have been increasing steadily over the last few years. Also, as I already mentioned, the students come not only from Porto, but from all over the country, which shows the success of the activity. Now I'd like to show you some pictures for you to understand how the activity works. First of all, the social program. But not only the social program on the right, but there we have what was already mentioned, the debates, the open space discussions that allow students to be engaged in a taboo-free, judgment-free environment that allow them to dive deep into the SRHR world. Now I have to address our partners, of course, not only the food partners that allow students to have the energy to keep the activity going, but also our scientific partners, our financial partners. For example, we've been recognized scientifically by the Portuguese Society on Sexology and the Portuguese Society on Gynecology, and also the National Authority of Health in Portugal. They allow us to give to our participants not only external condoms, but also internal condoms that sometimes are ignored in the community. And this way we can also address it by giving the students the experience of knowing what it is. And here I show you the different types of sessions that we also have. We have lectures for more expositive meaning, and we also have workshops. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe the main innovations are regarding the type of session that we try to introduce, because we are not only addressing the medical students, but college students from all over the country, and also the social part, because we want students to have fun, but we want students to learn in an engaging way. For example, for the next activity this year in November, we are trying to introduce, for example, pole dancing classes and sessions about pleasure that try to teach students about these topics that often are not mentioned in medical education, let's be honest, but are very important for the sexual health of people and are not addressed. And we all know that in the emergency room, if not mentioned, never, and sometimes it's very important to mention. So these are the main innovations that we believe that we are trying to introduce, especially in the next edition that we are already preparing.
Thank you so much, Paolo, for the presentation. I have a question. In my experience, I also that we design the project and I know fundraising can be very difficult. I would like to know how do you fundraise and how do you showcase the work that you are doing with external partners?
Our main supporter, since it's an LC activity, is the medical school. From the beginning of the activity, they always supported. They support the LC in a very regular way, but also we have the logistical partners that reduce the financial burden a lot. We are able to do the sessions in the medical school, but also the coffee breaks are offered, the participant kits are offered, because they believe the activity is impactful, and we, after the activity, show them the impact we're having. And for example, we've been having giveaways, for example, of satisfiers, condoms, menstrual cups that engage participants, not only in our activity, but also in the brands that we are giving away.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I was wondering why you chose medical students or students in general as a target population, and if you are considering expanding your target population to more at-risk populations.
So firstly, we thought about only medical students, but then we found out that maybe medical students are even more informed than other types of students, because we learn about gynecology, urology. So I don't know if you saw the slogan in the beginning. Our goal is to demystify sexual and reproductive health and rights in the college community as a whole. So we believe that the youth are the future, so they need to be aware of these problems, because. Okay, thank you.
Next up, our finalist is focusing on a cause that impacts countless lives, but is often overlooked.
This project is all about addressing the challenges of menstrual hygiene and insulin.
By engaging with the public and also bridging the gap between future healthcare professionals and the community, they are making menstrual health a priority. And it's now time to reveal the team behind this impactful initiative.
Please welcome We Menstruate from IFMSA Chile. Okay, good night, everybody. My name is Camila Muñoz Trigini. I'm the current president of IFMSA Chile. And I'm gonna present you a Women's Trade or Menstruamos on behalf of our SCORA team. Next slide, please. So, poverty could be defined of many different ways, as the lack of opportunity, resources, materials, among others. But I can assure you that menstrual poverty is not actually the really first thought that comes to your minds when I talk about poverty. So, menstruation is sadly one of the most stigmatized biological process that many people in front, and it's one of our main tasks to approach it with a human rights approach. So next slide, please. So, Women's Trade project is a two-phase campaign with a first phase mainly about educating people among regarding menstrual education, menstrual hygiene, and menstrual management, but with approach of a human right and a public health guarantee. The second phase is about the collection of menstrual hygiene products and the donation of them to an institution who works with population at risk of menstrual poverty, such as women prisons, National Serving for Child, some homeless shelters, etc. Next, please. So the main objective is to raise awareness among the general complications and regarding the inequality and difficulty in accessing of menstrual hygiene supplies, and to generate a solidarity approach to the general population. So our objectives are to educate 100% of the attendees of the activity about menstrual hygiene and the population at risk of menstrual poverty, to receive a donation of menstrual hygiene products from at least of 30% of them, to collect enough menstruate products to cover the menstrual management for 10 women for at least for a month, and also to deliver the collective donations to the institution that we already talked about. Next, please. But how we are gonna do it? Before the activity, we need to contact the institution to work with the population at risk of menstrual poverty to be sure that we can work with them and we can then, after the activity, let them our collections. We need to select a strategic location for the activity, such as places near, for example, a supermarket, a pharmacy, so we can conduct our activity in a smoother way and it's easier to collect our products. And also we need to disseminate our collection campaign in social media. During the activity, we need to inform the people in our stand about the topic and also motivate them to donate to our cause, and also collect all the data necessary then for the measure impact. And after the activity, we must deliver our products to the institution that we already contact. We are gonna fill out the measurement form and disseminate the contribution that we made with our activity. How we are gonna make us sure that our goals are catched. So we are gonna count the number of people that we reach with the information and the education. And we suggest to have like a symbolic object to give them, such as stickers, badges, etc. So we can count them before and after the activity and have an approximately number of how many we reach, all with the information. And for the supplies, we are gonna classify them in 4 main groups: sanitary pads, tampons, toiletries, and others, so we can make sure of how many of them we gather. And we are gonna calculate the value within a standard values for each type of item, and considering a period time of 3 to 4 days, and the using of 3 tampons or sanitary pads per day. So let's make it real. We made this activity. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your favorite project. Where do you see your project in 5 years' time? What are your goals long term?
So at first, this project is really a young project. We started making it last year. And for now, our main goal is to make it real at least in 10 of our local committees per year. But in a long term, we want to also work with other external partners, so we cannot also depend on what people can donate us. Also, we can work with other people and make like a a bigger approach and a bigger donations for these institutions.
Congratulations. Have you established any partnership for the activity, or do you have any plans on establishing partnerships for this?
No, not yet. We may now have been working with only donation for the people that we reach in the street with our activity.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you how to incorporate the human rights-based approach within this activity, because you also mentioned that you are following this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we start from the basis that menstrual health is actually a right of every people, not only women, all menstruation people. And without correct approach of wrong health, we need to assure the dignity of the people. So we are basically on that topic.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I was wondering if you have any plans on addressing the structural issues behind menstrual.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I was wondering if you have any plans on addressing the structural issues behind menstrual poverty, because as of now, you are only bridging the gap.
Yeah, that's a really big problem for everybody and also for our country. We made a lot of research before establishing our goals, but for now, we just want to go step by step and going at first with our voluntary, with LCs and all the donations, because going to a more structured problem, we are now actually working in a policy document, and that is like a little first step, but we are working on it.
Thank you so much. So up next, we have an initiative that brings a little bit of magic into the lives of special needs children and their families.
This project targets crucial issues for intellectually disabled children and their parents, focusing on disaster mitigation education and mental health awareness. Let's introduce the fantastic team behind this magical initiative.
Please welcome Magic, Make a Change with Children by IFMSA Indonesia. Since IFMSA Indonesia aren't able to make it here, we'll have a video presentation and then they'll answer questions.
Hello everyone, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Afila Deidre, and I have the honor of presenting our activity Magic, Make a Change with Special Needs. Children from our NMO teams Indonesia. First of all, I'd like to start, and I have the honor of presenting our activity Magic, Make a Change with Special Needs Children from our NMO teams Indonesia. First of all, I'd like to start by the reason for our activity, which stems from the Hello everyone, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Afila Deidre, and I have the honor of presenting our activity Magic, Make a Change with Special Needs Children from our NMO teams Indonesia. First of all, I'd like to start by the reason for our activity, which stems from the concern that there are minimal efforts in place to integrate disaster mitigation training for intellectually disabled children due to the negative stigma surrounding them, essentially that they are unteachable to some degree. And this is at odds with Indonesian law that states that disaster mitigation efforts should uphold the principle of non-discrimination. On the other hand, we are also concerned by the high number of anxiety and depressive symptoms found in parents of intellectually disabled children. Therefore, Magic aims to empower special needs children to take control of their own safety and tackle the mental burden experienced by parents when raising a child with disabilities. Here are our SMART objectives, which I feel will be further elaborated through the course of this presentation, but I'd like to highlight that the target community for MAGIC are children in their 5th and 6th grade who are enrolled in the special needs school SLBN 3 Denpasar and their parents. I'd like to start by explaining about our pre-activity, where we felt it was important to bring up the topic of disability awareness for our OC and volunteers, and we invited the head of Humanitarian Care Foundation Bali, one of our external partners, and the headmaster of SLBN 3 Denpasar, our target community. And we also collaborated with Bali Province Regional Disaster Management Agency and Denpasar City Fire Department to bring up the topic of disaster mitigation regarding earthquakes, tsunamis, and fires for our OC and volunteers. To acquaint ourselves with the community, first of all, we started by a bonding session, which consisted of socialization regarding our activities, games with the children, and free health services by our OC. For the first intervention, we started off with a talk show for the parents, which brought up the topic of finding the psychological balance in raising a child with special needs and optimal nutrition for a growing child, both brought by professionals in their respective fields. During this intervention, we also conducted our first 2 classes on earthquake and tsunami mitigations, which, as you can see, we utilized many different methods of education, such as role play. We used logbooks, songs, games, plays. For the simulations, we also utilized many different handmade properties to make sure that the simulation was interactive for the children, and we also followed a specific evacuation route that we prepared beforehand. For the second intervention, we managed to conduct the free IQ test and free counseling sessions in collaboration with our wonderful external partners. And we also conducted the last class on fire mitigations, also using various different interactive methods of education and simulation. Here are our additional educational resources, and I'd like you to focus on the logbook, which is our main method of education for these children. Basically, it is a small book compiled of everything you need to know, a summary of the disaster mitigation steps, comic strips for the children to read on disaster mitigation steps as well, multiple choice questions, and these are all utilized for the children to bring home after the activity has concluded so they can always remember what they have learned. Here are the merchandise that we sold for our fundraising efforts and the outputs and impacts of our activity. First of all, starting from the pre-activity, we managed to gain an average post-test score of 93.35%, collaborated with 7 external partners. We educated 5 parents through the talk show, provided services, free counseling services, and free IQ tests for 11 parents and 11 students. And here are the disaster mitigation impacts in further detail. I'd like you to focus on the graph on the right-hand side, which shows a score comparison of the children during the post-test, during the day of the class, and a post-intervention follow-up that we conducted about 2 to 3 weeks after the class was held. So as you can see from the scores, the children were able to either maintain or increase their scores, which shows that there is a sustainability to MAGIC's intervention. For further plans of sustainability, we plan to develop a long-term disaster mitigation program by proposing a standard operational procedure, which is reviewed and accepted by the governmental organization Bali Province Regional Disaster Management Agency and the Denpasar City Fire Department, which can be independently implemented by the school. We also plan to connect parents with easily accessible counseling services by building a partnership with the Ensalada Psychology Foundation and our target community SLBN 3 Denpasar. That is all for our presentation on MAGIC. Thank you so much for your attention.
So, the activity coordinator will be joining us online, so please give us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear. Perfect.
I wanted to ask why you use language such as special needs children, and why you use patronizing views such as magic and inspirational rhetorics when addressing disabled children, and how you plan on addressing that in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you beforehand for the question, but I'm sorry I couldn't really hear the question very clearly. So can you please repeat it if you don't mind?
So my question was, you used language in your presentation and in your project, such as special needs, as well as magic and inspirational, and describing disabled children. Considering that in the international context, neither special needs nor such inspirational rhetorics are any more acceptable when talking about disability, how do you plan on addressing this in your project in the future in order to reduce the discrimination and not the ableist?
All right, thank you for your question beforehand. I think first of all, I'd like to preface by repeating the question. If I'm not mistaken, your question was about us using the terms special needs for magic, inspirational in our program that addresses, I guess, intellectually disabled children. And how do we plan on addressing this issue in the future without sounding ableist? Is that correct? All right, okay. First of all, I think that when we planned on doing this activity first and foremost, we took very much care to do a lot of assessments beforehand. Sorry, both with the community and with other parents in this school, because our target community is a school for intellectually disabled children and other special needs children, such as children who are hard of hearing, children who I guess have other physical disabilities, children with Down syndrome and autism. And I think that when we proposed this activity to the school and to many other schools in the area, we took very much care to make sure that the I guess terms that we used were not offensive in any way, and taking into account and consideration that the school itself has a very strict guideline and rules in place for other activities and outside activities, and especially considering that we're future medical professionals. They took very much care in, I guess, ensuring that every single aspect of our activity is within the rules in place and within the guidelines in place. And I think that in the future, we definitely still have a lot to learn because our activity is still in, I guess it's like in the first stages of its development because it's the first of its kind from our local committee. I think we have many room to improve in the future. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Yes, I have an additional follow-up question. Have you involved any disabled people in your project, in the planning and organization of the project? And if not, how do you plan to change that? Or do you plan to change that?
Okay, so the question is if we involved any disabled people in the planning of our activity. So in the planning of our activity, I think we focused more on the involvement of the school itself. So the headmaster, the principal, the vice principals, and the teachers in the school. And some of the teachers in the school are also former students from the school itself. So I think that by developing our guidelines and developing the teaching methods that we use, we definitely consulted with those people to make sure that the activity could be well received by the children, and it could also, I guess, have a lasting impact on their education, especially considering that these intellectually disabled children, they have to have a certain amount of care taken into the method of their education to make sure that they stay focused, to make sure that the teaching and the materials are effective in their learning. And because they are intellectually disabled children, the school also frequently reminded us that these children do need repetition in their learning. And we also
took care to mirror that in our activity, because in each intervention, we made sure to review the materials every single time we met with the children to ensure that these children really did understand the steps of disaster mitigation. If a disaster were to happen, they would understand what they would do to escape from this disaster.
So this initiative is pushing the boundaries.
This comprehensive initiative has brought together students, educators, and policymakers to drive meaningful change in the medical education system.
So now let's meet the dedicated team behind this transformative project.
Please welcome Beyond the Books by BMSS Bangladesh.
They will also be presenting online, so we'll first play the video and then they'll answer questions.
Today, I will be sharing a story with you all. It is a story of how a group of medical students turned a mere idea into a movement. Esteemed delegates, honorable jury, and viewers from around the world, my name is Khondakar Rashki Tasnim, the National Officer on Medical Education of BMSS Bangladesh. This is the story of Beyond the Books. Beyond the Books is a groundbreaking initiative by SCOMI BMSS. Much like a book divided into chapters, our activity unfolds in 3 parts. The first chapter was a Facebook Live session with DGME, the second was a nationwide survey on AQA and MSI in medical education, and the third was a widespread petition signing across local committees. Our story begins with a stark reality. Around 80% of Bangladeshi medical students face challenges that hinder the full potential of our medical education system. For decades, we have adhered to traditional curricula, often neglecting recognition from international accreditation bodies. Refusing to accept the status quo, we launched Beyond the Books to initiate change. We employed the IFMSA Smart Objective Framework to craft our 3 main goals: Facebook Live session with DGME on March 10, 2024, conducting a survey across at least 20 LCs within 2 weeks, and collecting petition signatures in the first week of April. We also set clear success indicators for each objective, establishing successful liaison with DGME, participation from over 20 medical colleges in this survey, and gathering over 120 petition signatures. I am proud to report that we met all these indicators with 100% success. So how exactly did we execute such a large-scale event? We appointed 2 activity coordinators from the SCOMI national team and followed a meticulously planned 1-month timeline as shown on screen. In the first week, we organized a social media campaign on our Instagram and Facebook handles. In the second week, the Facebook Live with the DGME took place. In the third week, the nationwide survey was conducted, and on the final week, petition signing at LCs. No planning is concrete without proper evaluation tools. With that in mind, the tools used by us were timeline and resource mapping, quantitative and qualitative evaluation methodologies, and tracking progress through our success indicators. Our evaluation methods included observing participation counts, analyzing survey responses, and estimating and compiling the petition signatures received from each LC. Our external partner for this was the highest level stakeholder of medical education of our nation, the Directorate General of Medical Education, DGME. We also partnered with the Health Minister and the State Minister of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Bangladesh. This event received a stellar response. 21 LCs participated in the survey. This is the distribution of the medical colleges in the map of Bangladesh. After all, the motto of IFMSA is to think locally and act globally. The key findings of the survey report included 29% of students who think that research is non-existent in our current curriculum. 33% students revealed their medical colleges are never evaluated according to the accreditation standards, and 29% students think that the current level of MSI in our system is only 1 out of 5. 120 petition signatures were received in the first ever petition drive of BMSS. Furthermore, a feature in the AP View magazine of May edition, which marked the first international recognition of SCOMI BMSS. Following the event, we made our SMART objectives even smarter through evaluation and reflection. Allow me to share our success story. In April, shortly after our event, the BMS's Executive Board met with the Honorable Health Minister and the State Minister of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Bangladesh to present the survey report of this event. Our external partners were so impressed with our findings that they mentioned that granting accreditation status to the Medical Council of Bangladesh was now their top priority, and they announced that they will commence the first meeting of the Accreditation Council in the following week. This confirmed that our efforts had made a tangible impact on our medical education system. Lastly, to ensure sustainability of our initiative, we developed the following plans. Launching a national policy on AQA by 2025, maintaining liaison with Health Ministry and DGME, establishing Beyond the Books as a continuous activity, monitoring LC activities enrolled under MES, and features in international platform. This brings me to the end of my story, a story of advocacy, perseverance, and change. Beyond the Books is more than an initiative. It is a testament to the power of collective action. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation. It is truly an honor.
Hi, are you able to hear us?
Hi, I'm there. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you for the good presentation. I would like to ask you what is the plans of that?
I'm sorry, I did not receive the question. Can it be repeated or written in the chat, please?
Yes, I will repeat it. You hear me now?
Still very low.
What are your scale of is?
We'll type the question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's in our chat in Telegram.
No, but don't text here, right?
No, just a second. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How to scale up your activity?
All right. So the question that I received is how to scale up my activity. For that, there are certain concrete plans that I've developed as being the National Officer on Medical Education. The first that I believe we need to have an accreditation fund. The accreditation fund that will be used by the Director General of Medical Education and the Medical Council of our country, because I believe for any consultation fees or for any application fees for international recognition status, such as the WFME, requires a certain amount of expenditure. So we do have to look into the financial aspect of this portion. And not just that, we did establish a survey report through this event, but I believe our work was kind of at a halt as we did not approach for any follow-up with that. So I think for the survey report, we will be working with our external to make a national publication, provided if we have the proper funds for it, we will be also trying to make it this in like an international publication, because I believe the mostly researchers in our country are limited to clinical trainings. But since this event focuses much more on the medical education system, I think the findings for this survey report will be very valuable if you're able to make a successful research publication. So yes, an accreditation fund and a research publication, these two are my answer. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I would like to ask you, how do you plan to keep your members engaged with your project?
All right, so The question was how to keep my members engaged. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So for that, I believe I have a plan as well. So during the start of my term as the NOMI, I have divided 4 of my general assist into 4 different subgroups. And I've also divided the LOMIs that are working under me into those 4 different subgroups. So I actually have employed 1 GA to work with around 6 to 7 LCs and LOMIs. So in that way, I can mobilize and monitor not only just the SCOMI national team, but also the local officers. So that is one plan that I have. And the other plan is, I believe, through PRC and publications. If you have listened to my presentation, I mentioned how in the first week we did an online campaign on AQA and MSI. So I believe in this digital world, the way forward would be through the online platform. So I think a proper campaign on MSI or a proper campaign on AQA would also engage the newer members. So that is my plan for the current national team and for the future local officers. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, last but not least, we have an initiative that's making a significant difference in HIV and AIDS awareness and prevention.
Over the course of the campaign, they reached an impressive 6,100 young people across 7 towns with vital education on HIV and AIDS prevention.
And in addition to raising awareness, they provided free HIV screening to 847 participants in 30 towns. And now let's give a warm welcome to the team behind us in AFRO campaign.
Please welcome the HIV/AIDS awareness campaign by IFMSA Cameroon.
Okay, that's it. Going to open it like this. Click on Windows Media.
Greetings, dear IFMSA family. My name is Afana Landry. I am from Kamsa, Cameroon, and I'm going to present to you HIV/AIDS awareness campaign. According to recent research findings published by WHO, Cameroon was home to 480,232 inhabitants living with HIV as of the year 2022. You will agree with me that this is a call for concern. HIV/AIDS awareness campaign was a sensitization and screening campaign for HIV. Our campaign targeted secondary school teenagers, young adults, and medical students of Cameroon. Our campaign had as main objectives first to promote knowledge about HIV/AIDS amongst at least 2,000 adolescents and young adults in Cameroon between November 30th and December 18th. Secondly, to screen at least 250 participants for HIV, and thirdly, to increase knowledge about HIV/AIDS and skills and counseling to medical students in Cameroon. Our activity overview. Our activity took place from November 30th to December 18th and in 3 phases. The first phase of our activity was the training workshop designed specifically for medical students, and it took place here at the level of the faculties with the help or as facilitators, medical practitioners, and final year medical students. The second phase of our activity, which was the sensitization phase, took place in the communities and it ran throughout the program. The third phase, which is
Just a reminder for the people at the back, please keep quiet and respect the position.
Go back a bit.
And it took place here at the level of the faculties with the help or as facilitators, medical practitioners, and final year medical students. The second phase of our activity, which was the sensitization phase, took place in the communities and it ran throughout the program. The third phase, which is the sensitization, was as well in the communities. Dear IFMSA family, our results. Out of the 2,000 participants that we targeted, we were able to reach out to 6,100 participants in 7 towns of Cameroon, namely Boya, Bangante, Bamenda, Cham, Yaoundé, and Saint-Melima. To continue, we were able to screen not only 250 but 836 people. Our last objective, more than 80% of the medical students who volunteered in our activity reported increased knowledge about HIV/AIDS in general and giving skills. Basically, our campaign was a success, though we faced some challenges. Of course, the most recurrent challenge was the financial constraints, which did not enable us to get to the various rural settings that we wanted to target. Despite the financial challenges, we could push through, and the next recurrent challenge was the fear of results, the stigma. Many of our participants did not want to be tested after the sensitization phase because of the fear to get their results published. After these challenges, the relevance of our activity. We believe that our activity is in line with IFMSA's vision, with IFMSA's center areas, as we cut across several areas of interest such as global health education, health equity, advocacy, and of course sustainable development goals, SDG 3, good health and well-being, particularly the 3.3, which aims at ending the AIDS epidemic. Basically, our activity was a success, and we intend to continue, of course, with such activities, a second, a third, a fourth edition, of course, by developing more innovative strategies to overcome the financial limitations that will enable us to reach not only to 1,000, but why not thousands of people in various communities, especially the rural communities of Cameroon. We are really grateful for the opportunity to present here this our activity, and we thank you for your
Can you hear us? Cameroon? Hi, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can get you.
Okay. Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for your presentation. I would like to ask you, which external partners are you interested in having in your project in the future? Thank you.
Okay. I would like to ask, is it the question, did I get it correctly? You're asking about external partners we involved in our activity.
Yes, correct. So which external partners you're partnering with, you'd like to partner with?
Okay. We have partnered with organization, the International Care of the Needy Foundation, to be able to have this activity. It was a collaboration, as I said, a partnership with the International Care of the Needy Foundation. They had to support us, and we are really grateful for that at their level. But we aim to get to more international organizations, let me put it that way, that can be able to supply us with the various materials, the kits that will enable us to get to a higher population, a higher target. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'd like to ask you if you can some of the challenges you've made so far, the implementation of your activity, and the areas you took to welcome those challenges. Do you have a question?
Okay, the challenges, please. You ask if we
Yes.
face challenges and how to overcome them.
Yes.
Yes,
And
the
how,
challenges you mentioned, how you overcome them.
okay, how we overcame them. Okay, the challenges, as I said, the most recurrent was the financial challenges, the financial constraints, and what we had to do for us to reach to our target population and even more was to rally medical students giving in their personal funds. That is why we were talking about a global aspect, because not only did Cameroon Medical Students Association as a whole take this association, but individual medical students were glad to contribute out of their own funds to support us through this activity. That was the most recurrent challenge, the financial aspect. Other aspects were being logistics as well as transport, because certain sectors in Cameroon are very rural, are very far from urban towns, urban cities. So we were able to get to some people that will help us move to those areas. Though it was not that effective, but we tried to overcome that. So basically, the financial aspects and the transportation aspects were covered by medical students' funds.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all our incredible finalists for sharing their groundbreaking projects with us today.
Your hard work, creativity, and dedication to improving global health is truly inspiring.
To all our delegates, activity coordinators, and NMO representatives, thank you for your energy and enthusiasm.
We couldn't have made this gala a success without each and every one of you.
But the special thanks goes to all of the activity coordinators who dedicated their time and energy to conduct all the activities.
And also a huge thank you to the 504 activities that are successfully enrolled and joined the program's family.
As we wrap up the Rex Crossley Awards Gala, let's carry forward the spirit of innovation and collaboration we've celebrated today.
And remember that the impact of these projects reaches far beyond this room, and each and every single one of you are part of making a difference.
So let's give one last round of applause to everyone involved, and let's continue to strive for excellence and progress in our respective fields.
Well, thank you all for being here, and please have a fantastic rest of the meeting.
And waiting for the results in the closing ceremony. For sure. Thank you so much.